Karen, just to be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
Yes, we do.
If John was beaten up and attacked in that house, who did it?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. And it's not for us to know. Somebody other than Karen is responsible for that, for the killing of John.
Yeah. Roberta in the truth zone, mic hitting raw. Spotlight shining, she exposing the flaw. Debunking the myth, breaking their facade. This is Glass City, respect the squad. On these NYC blocks where the skyline flex big. Roberta Glass slicing lies with a truth rig. Innocence frosters, your stories unravel. She's a map through the madness of gritty gravel. Glass don't bend and facts don't break. She's a storm that's called, you feel the quake. Exposing tales stitched with crooked seams. Justice in the lens, shattered fake dreams. Screams about killers, painted heroes in disguise. She burning propaganda with fire in her eyes. No glamour for the guilty, she call it straight. She backs victims, the voice stay awake. Stats and receipts, no spin, no clutter. Cold cases whisper, she cuts through the mutter. Truth's her tempo, don't confuse the beat. She's standing for the real while you taking a seat. True crime's a block, facts the artillery. Spinning those lies, yo, she checks that misery. Tabloid tales get smashed, no time to play. She's glass hard, break the false and save the day. True crime's a block, facts the artillery. Spinning those lies, yo, she checks that misery. Tabloid tales get smashed, no time.
Okay. How is everyone? Here we go. Just us chickens. Mia Wallace, nice to see you. Dark Side of the Moon. Good to have you here. Kitty's 1993. Hello, hello, hello. So I wanted to talk today with you guys about Karen Reed's civil trial, which is coming up. She's asked to dismiss John O'Keefe's niece's lawsuit. People think it's a way to fold it into the larger other civil suit. Rest of the O'Keefe family. But for emotional distress, emotional distress claims are hard to prove. She may get a dismissal just outright, but in this case, I think they do have a case. And the problem with the civil suit is Karen Reed knows every bit of this case. She knows her case inside and out. And while the witnesses do not, and there are some confused witnesses out there, and they will use their trauma and their confusion against them and say that they're making it all up, which I don't think they are making it up. But I do think there is some confusion on times, especially with Kerry Roberts. And I believe before depositions are taken in this case, they should have a really clear view of the timeline in this case and know this case. Karen Reed will be at these depositions. It's her right to be there as the defendant in a civil lawsuit. And it's a way of intimidating the witnesses for one, but she has a right to be there. So they're going to be in a small conference room with Karen Reed and her lawyers sitting across from them, answering questions. And so this is not to disparage them or put them down, but just as a shout out to get their timelines in order, to get very familiar with the facts of the case, and to pay attention to the narrative that they've been putting out about Karen Reed. Because every time you listen, I'm specifically going to talk about Kerry Roberts, because I'm going to ask you, today, we're going to play the weakest link. Is Kerry Roberts the weakest link in the timeline? And have her interviews been helpful to Karen Reed? Not to this side, but to Karen Reed. For one, she always puts out the idea that Karen Reed was hysterical. Was she hysterical or was she acting hysterical? I say the latter. Was because she couldn't find her boyfriend. Could she not find her boyfriend? Or did she have to gather people up who could be other suspects so she could point the finger at them? Otherwise, it's just Karen Reed there who dropped him off. It's Karen Reed's taillight all over the crime scene. It's Karen Reed. It's Karen Reed making the 911 call, which she never did. She got Jen McCabe to make that 911 call. Very important detail of this case. So she could cast a cloud of suspicion. And instead of taking responsibility for her own behavior, she pointed the finger elsewhere. Look here. Look at these people. They're bad. Because we're all human. We all have faults. So what a useful thing to be able to exaggerate people's weaknesses and faults and paint them like murderers when you're looking to escape responsibility for your murder of your boyfriend. When you purposely reversed into him, your foot 74.5% down on the gas pedal, going 24 miles an hour in reverse. So let us play the weakest link today, and we're going to look at an excellent blog by Innocence Fraud Watch. The link is always in the description of this video. But without further ado,
Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Let's play the weakest link.
okay, let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Is the clock started? Thanks so much. Wesley Loves Octoberfest for gifting 10 memberships. Very generous of you. My understanding is they'll be handed out at random. So let me get into it. We have clips to play, things to look at. Okay. Here we go. So this is a blog and a series of questions. So at 5 o'clock and 10 seconds, this is the 5 on the dot call, Karen Reed called Kerry Roberts. The call lasted 28 seconds. Karen Reed either shouted, this is the second trial, I believe, "John's dead, Kerry, Kerry, Kerry." And I think she said in the first trial, "Kerry, Kerry, Kerry, John's dead," and then hung up. At 5 o'clock, Karen Reed ended her 28-second. At 5 o'clock and 38 seconds, Karen Reed ended her 28-second call to Kerry Roberts. At the same time, Catherine Camerano was calling her. So Karen picks up with Catherine Camerano at 5 o'clock and 38 seconds. The call lasted 2 minutes and 4 seconds. At 5:01 and 18 seconds, Kerry Roberts called Karen Reed. The call was missed because Karen was talking to Catherine Camerano. At 5:08 and 6 seconds, Karen Reed called Kerry Roberts back. And this call lasted 8 minutes and 8 seconds. So she ended her call at 5:16 and 14 seconds. And then Karen Reed had to feign not knowing where John O'Keefe was at 5 and 5 a.m. and 16 minutes, 5:16 and 54 seconds. And at 5:19:57, Kerry Roberts called her husband Kurt Roberts. And he called John O'Keefe's phone. I mean, we can listen to the testimony, but it's just, there's just,
Yes.
And when you called Mr. O'Keefe, were you able to speak to Mr. O'Keefe?
No.
Do you know how many times
did you call Mr. O'Keefe? Did you how many times? Do you know how many times you called Mr. O'Keefe?
called Mr. O'Keefe?
My husband called him, and I think I called him.
And when was that in relation to you going up to the car and clearing it?
That was when I was in the house. Karen actually said, "Can you try and call him?"
And you did, and you didn't get anything.
Correct.
You know whether or not your husband got an answer?
He did not.
So you go out to the car, you're waiting, and you make those phone call initially to Canton Police. Is that correct?
Yes.
And do you know who you spoke to at Canton Police?
I believe it was Officer Good.
Is that someone that you knew in any way prior to this date of January 29th?
We have mutual friends, but no, I'd never met him.
So we may circle back to this, but this is a call that's been really misrepresented as far as when it was. Kerry Roberts called Karen Reed, the Cellbrite, at 5:20:41 a.m. The Cellbrite report suggests that the call lasted 13 seconds. It's not known if Kerry actually spoke to Karen at this time, and if they did, what was said. At 5:22:11 a.m., Karen Reed called Kerry Roberts. The call lasted 41 seconds. It's not known what was said during this call. This would be a good idea for Kerry Roberts to jog her memory on this. At 5:22:52, Karen Reed made a call to Kerry Roberts, and it ended her. Oh, she ended her call. Okay. At 5:23:47, Kerry Roberts called Karen Reed. This call was missed. 5:33:40, Kerry Roberts called Karen Reed. Excuse me. This call lasted 50 seconds. It's not known what was said during this call. 5:34:30, Kerry Roberts ended her call to Karen Reed. At 5:37:16, Kerry Roberts called Karen Reed and remained speaking to Karen during her drive from her house to Jen McCabe's house and their eventual drive to John O'Keefe's house. This call lasted 9 minutes and 11 seconds. At 5:46:27, Kerry Roberts ended her 9-minute and 11-second call from Karen Reed, and at 7:14:25 a.m., Karen Reed called Kerry Roberts. The Cellbrite report suggests this call lasted 3 seconds. Therefore, it's not even known if it's answered. And at 7:14, Karen Reed called Kerry Roberts. This call lasted 1 minute. At 12:46:16, Kerry Roberts called Karen Reed. This call lasted 2 minutes and 46 seconds. At 3:19:57 p.m., Kerry Roberts called Karen Reed. This call lasted 23 seconds. It's unknown if it was ever picked up. So when Karen Reed called you back a second time at 5:08, just 8 seconds after the above image was captured. So do you see this image? This is Karen Reed pulling out of the right side of the garage, and it casts light on John O'Keefe's car from his Ring camera footage. So when Karen Reed called you back at 5:08, right before she's about to do her love tap of John O'Keefe's car, just 8 seconds after the above image was captured by John O'Keefe's ring camera at 5:07, did you hear the SUV's audible cues beeping at the beginning of the call, warning Karen she was getting too close to John's parked Chevy Traverse? So did Kerry Roberts have any memory of that? Because it makes like this whine, very high-pitched whine sound. That would be a good thing to try to jog your memory. Did Karen Reed mention anything to you at the beginning of her 5:08:06 call, having just intentionally love tapped John O'Keefe's car? Did she say, "Oh crap, I just backed into John's car. Oh, I just cracked my taillight"? No, and if she didn't, why not? Isn't this the point where she's supposed to, even though you can see that when you line them up, and this wasn't clearly shown in trial 1 or trial 2, that they don't line up. You could not smash his taillight. First of all, even Arca says you couldn't smash it going that gently. And 2, you couldn't have smashed it because they're way out of alignment with each other. It wouldn't have. They don't line up. It wouldn't have hit the taillight. So when exactly during the 5:08 call did Karen Reed tell you she and John O'Keefe had been at the waterfall and they were out having drinks and then she left? What else did Karen Reed tell you about the waterfall bar and where she left from, and what did you admit from your crucial trial testimony in 2024 and 25? All these details really matter. The more details that are out there in the public domain, it gives less room for innocent fraudsters to either, 1, paint with broad strokes and wipe over the details and create a new narrative, or 2, go off in their own directions. You lock people into the truth in all these details. I mean, it's one reason why trial 1 may have been more effective than trial 2. May have been. You could say it was, because there were so many witnesses in that trial, all saying the same thing, all painting a very clear narrative of Karen Reed's guilt, and there was less room to move in some directions for Karen Reed and her fraudster lawyers. When you spoke to Sergeant Good at the Canton Police Department, you said, among other things, and we can listen here, they were at the waterfall. She thinks they were at the waterfall. Okay, so here's her conversation with Sergeant Good. So they were at the waterfall. She thinks he probably got a ride and passed out at someone's house. They were out having drinks and then she left. So she's like, I feel like something happened. Did Karen Reed think that he probably got a ride and passed out at someone's house, or is that what you thought? They were out having drinks. Well, we know that to be true now. And then she left with him. How did she feel something had happened to him? So let's listen to the testimony here.
Hi, my name is Kerry. I'm calling because my friend's boyfriend did not come home last night. They were at Waterfall, and now she is calling me hysterical because she doesn't know where he is. You didn't pick anybody up by the name of John O'Keefe, did you?
John O'Keefe?
Yeah, he's a Boston cop, and he would be on.
I mean, this would be a good time to say, she's told me she didn't know where he was, but now we know she knew exactly where he was. We didn't know at the time that this was all a lie, because she's a pathological liar.
On foot, but
No.
I think he probably got a ride and passed out at someone's house. I don't know, but.
Yep. No, we didn't lock anybody up or anything like that. And where does he live?
He lives on Meadow, right off the Pleasant.
He lives on Meadow off of Pleasant. Okay. And is the wife home? You said his girlfriend?
It's his girlfriend, yeah. They were out having drinks, and then she left and expected him to come home at some point, and he never did.
Yep.
And so I said to her, you know, my husband had been out with him earlier in the night, but then he came home, and he has custody of his niece and nephew because their parents passed away.
Okay.
He came home because I'm not the type to reverse into my husband and leaving him to die alone in a blizzard. I don't do that, but Karen Reed, she's the type to do that.
She's home with the niece and nephew, and they're old enough to be home. It's just she's nervous because he never even called the niece.
Yeah.
So she's like, I feel like something happened, and I said, okay. Well, so he called the area hospital. Nobody has him. I personally think someone probably picked him up and he passed out. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He didn't drive last night?
No.
No. Okay. Again, it's more. It would be driven by. She would have to, call in, or come to the station, and talk to us. But I mean, as of right now, it's more. He just didn't come home last night. Is this common sometimes?
Exactly.
Happen with him?
No. That's why. Since he didn't call his niece. That's kind of why she's more freaking out.
But we do know that John did tell his niece something, and we don't know what those last text messages are with John O'Keefe and his niece. Right before she put her phone, I mean, that's what a good relationship they had, is that even when John O'Keefe wasn't there, she kept his rules to charge her phone in his room at night. But did he say, oh, we're going to be coming home later tonight. Karen's coming home with me. There's going to be a storm tomorrow. What did he say to his niece? We don't know. So that's very different than he didn't talk to her that morning, but what did he text her when he was at the waterfall?
I figured I called the area hospitals. I said I would call Canton police just to make sure he didn't get picked up. But like I said, he was a Boston police officer. He knows a bunch of people. Anybody could have picked him up.
Yeah.
Sleeping it off.
Okay.
Apparently they were having a blizzard party of some sort.
Yeah.
That's another thing that has allowed this narrative. This is Kerry Roberts' own spin. They weren't having a blizzard party. They were having a get-together after the bars closed. It wasn't some wild, raucous party of the blue wall of silence is looking to protect. This is where left room for Aidan Carney to go crazy with this. It's just a small get-together. It wasn't a wild blizzard party where they're going to beat someone up and throw them on their front lawn, because that's such a great place to hide a body and think that they're too big to get busted.
No.
I don't know.
Unfortunately, I wasn't there. I was stuck here. But we didn't get any calls, anything like that. Nobody was arrested or anything like that.
Okay.
All righty.
All right. Well, thank you.
All right. No problem. Good luck.
Okay. So there's that. So what else? What else did Karen Reed tell you? During your 8-minute and 8-second call with Karen, did she tell you that she thinks he probably got a ride and passed out at someone's house? Again, like I said, is that something that you thought? Because that's a rational thought. Karen Reed seemed like, from everything that we've heard, she was telling other people she was determined that he got hit by a plow. It always had to do with being run over by a large vehicle. Right? And did Karen Reed tell you she had left John at the waterfall and they had argued the same as what she had previously told Jen McCabe? So at what time did you call the Canton Police non-emergency line? As you know, your phone was cloned by the Massachusetts State Police on the same day as Jennifer McCabe's, February 22nd, 2022. Have you requested and obtained a copy of your cell phone data from January 29th, 22? And if not, why not? That's something that you should familiarize yourself with. And also be a good idea to put it out on the Justice for John O'Keefe website or somewhere else. Because the more people don't talk from this side, it looks like they're trying to hide something. And watch the Free Karen readers clip that and say, see, Roberta, you're starting to get it. You're starting to get the conspiracy. You're starting to understand how they're all into this conspiracy. It's a 50-plus person conspiracy. A copy of your phone data could help trigger your memory in relation to the timing of various events and help with your timeline. You testified in 2024 of John O'Keefe's phone that my husband called them, and I think I called them. That was when I was in the house. Karen was actually said, can you try to call him? Let's go back to that. So let's finish this testimony.
Now, you call the hospitals, and then at some point after you finish speaking to the hospitals, the defendant then calls you back, correct?
Yes.
And what, if anything, can you describe to the jury sort of what was the content of that conversation that third time?
She said, I said, where are you? I'm in the car. And she said, I'm at Jen's house. And I said, Jen who? She said, Jen McCabe. She's going to drive my car. And I said, okay, stay there. I'll come to there. We'll follow and we'll drop your car off. We'll just take my car and go look for him. And I drove to Jen's and I pulled in the driveway behind them. I was still on speakerphone. Jen is driving. Karen's in the passenger seat, and we drove. I said, do you remember, did you look through the house? Could he be passed out somewhere in the house? She said, I don't know. I didn't look. So I said, let's do that. Let's get in the cars.
Who knows someone is lost when they don't even look for him? To me, that's such a telling detail from Karen Reed of her guilt, that she never looked for John before she started panicking. Even when she's in his house, uninvited, she was invited with him, and she wasn't listening to any of his rules because somehow she knew that they didn't matter anymore. Not taking off her shoes. When she comes home, she doesn't take off her shoes. She just entered his house like a criminal, like a burglar.
We're not taking two cars. It's a blizzard. We're going to go back to Meadows and we're going to go look in the house first. He could be passed out behind the couch or on the floor. Who knows? So we went to the house.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Before you get into that, just as far as directionality and where you're going at this initial stage, you are sort of directing what's going to happen and where you're going to go, correct?
Correct.
Now, you had mentioned that the defendant said she was at Jen's house. You asked Jen who, and she said Jennifer McCabe, correct?
Object. I'll allow it.
With regards to Ms. McCabe, did you know her, or how did you know her prior to this morning of January 29th?
I had met her once when John took her and I to Reebok because he got a 50% discount. So we would go periodically and get the kids' shoes. So John and myself went to Reebok, got shoes, and then we went to the hillside for lunch. That was it. I wasn't friends with her.
Is that someone that you had programmed in your phone as a contact? Did you have her in?
This is so many friends like this who just met Karen once. How many times did they buy shoes? Was this one time? Was this the one time Karen Reed had met her before?
No.
And when you went to Ms. McCabe's house that morning, how was it that you knew where Ms. McCabe's house was at that point?
I've picked up Kaylee there a time or two for John and brought her home if I was heading that way, because Jen's house is on the way to John's.
And so you go to Ms. McCabe's house, and can you describe to the jury sort of what you observe or what you see when you're first coming up to Ms. McCabe?
I pulled in the driveway behind Karen's car, and Karen and Jen are in the car talking. I'm still on Bluetooth so I can hear them. And Karen said that she remembered leaving him at Waterfall. And Jen said, no, I saw you pull up to my sister's house. And then at some point in the conversation, she said, what about my taillight? What about my taillight? And I looked, and there was a piece missing, but it was caked on with snow. You could tell there was a little black hole, but there was snow like caked on it, and it was a blizzard at this point.
Now, just as far as over the course of this early morning when you're making that drive from your house to Ms. McCabe's house, correct?
Yes.
So during that time, can you describe sort of what the lighting conditions were, what the roadway conditions were, what you observed as you were driving over there?
It was not light out yet, and it was really bad driving.
And bad driving in reference to snow, was that correct?
Yes.
So you get to Ms. McCabe's house, and during the drive from your house to Ms. McCabe's house, you're speaking to both Ms. McCabe and Ms. Reed.
Yes.
And with reference, I think you said a couple times as far as a Bluetooth. So as far as what you're hearing on the other side of the conversation, is it just one person, or are you able to hear sort of everything that's going on in the call?
I could hear everything. It was like a regular phone call in the car.
From where you were, your impression was it was hooked up to the speaker of the car.
Correct.
And when you get to Ms. McCabe's house, or what you were just testifying about as far as the taillight, when is it that you're making those observations?
In Jen's driveway.
And so about how far away from the defendant's car are you the first time that you see or your attention is drawn to this taillight?
I was parked right behind them in the driveway.
And can you describe which part of the vehicle you were looking at as far as which taillight that you're observing this damage?
The right passenger.
And so from there, as far as Ms. McCabe's driveway, you make these observations. Where is it that you go from?
Say it again.
So after you're making those observations and you're overhearing that conversation, or you're having that conversation with Bluetooth, where did the three of you go?
We went to Meadows, to John's house.
And how was it that each of you sort of got from Ms. McCabe's house to John's house on Meadows?
Jen drove Karen's car, and I followed behind in my car.
At any point in time, did you?
Okay, so there we go. There's a little of the testimony of Kerry Roberts from the first trial. You then testified that you got dressed, went downstairs, and headed outside to clean the snow off your car. And around how long do you think it took to clean your car? And do you think your call to the Canton Police non-emergency line could have been made nearer to 5:30? And when exactly during the 8 minutes and 8 seconds of the 508 call with Karen Reed did you tell her, I said I would call Canton Police? Or did you tell Karen Reed I would call Canton Police during your 520 call if Karen actually answered this call, or your 522 call with her? You did not say anything about this during your testimony in 2024 or 2025. And during which call did you inform Karen Reed you had called the Canton Police and the hospitals? For example, you did tell her this during your 520. Did you, for example, did you tell her this during your 520-41 call? Again, it was actually Karen who answered this call, and your 522-11 a.m. call, or your 533-40 call. Or did you not say anything to Karen about your calls regarding John O'Keefe to Sergeant Good in the hospitals? Did Karen Reed tell you John O'Keefe might have gotten hit by a plow at the beginning of her 508-06 call to you? Or did she say these words several minutes into her call or towards the end of her call? Like, did she get the idea? Because we know she pulled out of the driveway watching a plow driver go by. Maybe he got hit by a plow. Did that spark her? Was that a spontaneous lie on the spot? Maybe he got hit by a plow. Maybe I can blame it on the plow driver she saw the plow drivers driving by. Is that when she got that idea? Did Karen Reed ever tell you why she was not supposed to stay in Canton that night? and what she meant by it. So this is an interesting little, here we go. Just a little interesting tidbit from the, I believe this is the first trial.
Now, what happened then?
Then I got out of bed and Kurt said, "What was that?" I said, I don't know. Something's happening. And I think I started getting dressed at that point because I don't know if I started getting dressed at that point or after she called back again. I tried to call her, I think a couple times back to be like, what is going on? Finally, she called me back again and she said, I'm afraid John might be dead. He might have gotten hit by a plow. He did not come home last night. I was not supposed to stay in Campton last night, and he would never leave Kaylee alone. I think something happened.
Now, what happened?
Pretty interesting. Pretty stunning admission there. And she's saying, I wasn't supposed to, I went to John O'Keefe's house uninvited, essentially. He invited her with him. He didn't say, if you run me over, break into my home and start planning how you're going to get away with this crime. And did Karen Reed ever say anything to you about Richie the plumber, who was due to return to fix her hot water issues at her house in Mansfield? This is a really important thing. So these things that Karen Reed have ghosted from the narrative are important. And this is important because it's one of the last texts between Karen and John O'Keefe as they've been fighting all day. And they went and put a brave face on in front of all their friends so they wouldn't know that things were bad between the two of them. We know that John O'Keefe had already asked Karen Reed to leave his home, and she refused to leave. And he tried to get away from her in an argument, and he locked the bedroom door, and Karen Reed came pounding at it. So Karen Reed is expected to join him for drinks at C.F. McCarthy's, and they're waiting for her. And she's like, "Oh, I have a plumber. Richie the plumber's here. He's fixing my hot water issues. He always puts the toilet seat lids back on crooked. He's going to come back mañana with a part that he's getting at Home Depot. Be back mañana." I'm paraphrasing, but this is the essence of it. And we know that John O'Keefe told Michael Camerano that John O'Keefe was upset that Karen Reed didn't ask him and his dad, Papa, to fix it because they would have done it for free. His dad's a plumber. And you could have fixed this issue for free, but instead she has a guy over on Friday night at 7:30, 8 o'clock. What's he doing? And she knew how to get a rise out of him. But Karen Reed has completely ghosted Richie the plumber. And to remind you of the Richie the plumber story, what a better way to remind you than with my hit single, Richie the plumber.
Everyone is waiting for me to arrive at the bar. At home in Mansfield, I'm making up a new co-star. His name is Richie the plumber. No hot water, it's a bummer. It's all a figment of my imagination. Call
Richie, my imaginary plumber, is at Home Depot, hoping that story will get a rise out of my boyfriend and his libido. I'll arrive at the bar showing up late, make him angry right out of the gate. He's slow at feeling lovey-dovey, I'm downright twisted and scummy. I'll down many drinks and run him over after it gets late. Scream and cry, it's you, John, who I hate. Leave him to die in a blizzard, inflicting pain, I'm a wizard. Get Jen to call 911, have the whole town pointing fingers when it's over and done.
Okay, so that's a little reminder who Richie the plumber is for you. Did Karen, when you arrived at John O'Keefe's driveway at around 5:46:29, did you notice if Karen Reed had left John's right-hand side garage door open after she had reversed out of John's garage? So after she'd done her love tap at 5:07:58, around 5. And at John O'Keefe's ring camera footage from around this time of you, Jennifer McCabe, and Karen Reed appears to suggest the door was already open. So let's watch it together. So here they are arriving.
Ms. McCabe, directing your attention up to the screen. What's been marked as 6 or video filming at 6? Do you recognize what's depicted in this video?
I do.
What do you recognize?
That's myself getting out of the car at Meadows Ave.
Is that essentially where you parked Ms. Reed's vehicle when you pulled in?
Yes.
If you could, just direct the jury's attention with the laser pointer as to where Ms. Reed's vehicle is that you parked and if you see Ms. Roberts' vehicle.
That is Miss Reed's, and that would be Miss Roberts.
And as far as the right garage door that you entered into the house, if you could direct the jury's attention to whereabouts that would, I know it's not on the video, but where would it be?
Walk straight.
Someone if you could run this.
So that rumbling sound, I thought that rumbling sound might be the garage door opening, but it's not. It's just a sound that you hear. Maybe it's the wind up against the camera. You hear it in other clips from the Ring camera video. Anyway, that's that. You can see them arriving there. And you told Karen Reed during the 508 call that she needed to go home and be with Kaylee if she's there by herself. This is something that I pointed out since the beginning. But then you left Kaylee home alone around 5:52 a.m. Why didn't anyone stay with John's niece? Why did they both have to? I mean, I know Karen wanted more characters she could mix into the story and mix it all up, the better for her to cast suspicion away from herself. But why didn't Jen McCabe, who Kaylee knew, stay with Kaylee when they're already at John O'Keefe's house, quote unquote, pretending Karen Reed's pretending to look for him. She knows where she left him. Why did no one say in this trial, I went looking, clearly, it was clear to me that Karen Reed clearly knew where he was. She took us on a pretend search for him. But this narrative remains that Karen Reed was hysterical when I believe she was acting hysterical. She needed an audience, too. I'm so hysterical, I don't know what happened to him. So at the very least, she could claim it was an accident. And people from this side, it took them a long time to, it seems like they're just waking up to the fact that it wasn't an accident. Karen Reed purposely backed into John O'Keefe. How do you reverse 24 miles an hour in reverse by accident without immediately putting on the brake? And did you call or text to check on Kaylee after you had left Meadows Avenue at around 5:52? Did anyone call and check up at Kaylee? Karen Reed seems to check up on Kaylee at 6:44:29 for 18 seconds, and at 6:56:19. You can see that on Exhibit 28, which is all the call logs. You also see a call to Mrs. O'Keefe, Peggy O'Keefe. Now, Peggy O'Keefe testified that she never talked to Karen Reed. Was Karen Reed talking to her husband? During your April 23rd, 2000, or is Peggy O'Keefe mistaken? Did she forget about that call? During your April 23rd, 2005 interview with Matt Gutman, that guy, he falsely says that you were the first person Karen Reed called at 5 a.m. the morning of the blizzard trying to find John. How do you feel about Matt Goodman's lies, knowing in reality Karen Reed had first called Michael Camerano at 4:46:41, and that Karen had also called Michael 3 more times after her initial call to him before she called Michael's wife, Catherine Camerano, at 4:49:24, followed by Jennifer McCabe at around 4:53 a.m.? And how do you feel about Matt Gutman falsely saying that Karen Reed was trying to find John when she knew where John was all along? Are you still in denial over this? Are you aware of your psychological projections during the following media clip?
And as we were driving, Karen would lean in between us, and she was frantic. She knew John was missing, so she was frantic about it, as I would be.
Right, but I don't think she was so frantic. And I think she was acting frantic, and there's a big difference.
What is a health share? We share offers.
Let me turn that off. How do you feel knowing there's so much misinformation in the public domain? All this helps Karen Reed. Like, for example, with regards to what time, and everyone's staying quiet. Everyone's ducking and covering or waiting for someone else to do something, or saying, why, punish the DA's office for not protecting the witnesses. The O'Keefe's civil lawyer, will only be as good as the information that they have. And it's really important that the witnesses get I'm not picking on Kerry Roberts, but it's really important that they get their timeline straight and get a clear memory of what happened in relation to John O'Keefe. And I know Karen Reed was doing her best to disrupt the human memory and the human psyche by putting you in a fear state of mind, yelling, Kerry, Kerry, Kerry. She did that. She put herself in between the front seat, yelling, Kerry, 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 Jen, Jen, Jen. So what does that do when you hear your name screamed? Everyone remembers when their parents yelled at them, even called you to dinner, like, Roberta, Something must be done. Put you in a hurried state of mind. This is something that salespeople do to get you to make a split decision to spend money that you normally wouldn't spend. Get you out. So I understand why Kerry Roberts' memory is unclear, but she needs to get all the information and get ready, because Karen Reed will win this civil suit. And as I've already said, she's already made a motion to dismiss the niece's part of the suit. Said to you during her 5:10 call. And okay, so how do you feel about so much misinformation in the public domain? A good example of this is what time you called the Canton Police non-emergency line in relation to John O'Keefe. We went over that. What exactly Karen Reed said to you during her 5 a.m. call? Was it Kerry, John's dead, or John's dead, Kerry? And have you reported this misinformation to the Justice for John O'Keefe website, Kevin Lanahan and Five Stone Intelligence, and asked them to make corrections to the lies and misinformation they are spreading about you? So the times of your calls from and to Karen Reed are in the public domain. Have you considered contacting the Justice for John O'Keefe website and ask them to publish it? Did you notice, and while you're at it, tell the John O'Keefe website to have maybe 10 free Karen Reed talking points would be actually useful, something useful on that website. Did you end it in a good timeline? Did you notice whether or not Karen Reed had a purse with her when she climbed into your vehicle at around 5:52 a.m.? Did you know why Karen Reed kept opening and shutting this is so weird, shutting the passenger side door to your car around the time you were about to head off to the O'Keefe house in Braintree? And did you tell her to stop doing this? This is so weird. Watch her opening and closing the door.
Does it appear you're on the phone?
Yes.
Okay. How's it? Did it appear that you walked off screen left?
Yes.
Still on the phone?
Yes.
Go ahead. Pause it. Did you see somebody following that same direction?
It looked like Officer Sarah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Actually, I'm wrong because that's Officer Sarah right there, so I'm incorrect.
I think it might have been Sergeant Good.
So that's Karen Reed on the right-hand side.
Could we play it back?
With the court's permission.
Sure, go ahead.
You recognize that person?
Yes, I'm mistaken. That's Sergeant Good.
Okay, go ahead. How's it? Does it appear that
There it goes again, opening up.
Yes.
Are you followed by anybody?
Don't notice Karen Reed opening the passenger side
believe it's
door a
still
million
Sergeant Good.
times.
Are you speaking to Sergeant Good or are you walking away from him?
Redirect the jury away from that odd behavior.
Can't you tell?
In that frame, it appears I'm standing right next to him.
Okay, let's go ahead. How's it? Did it appear you were sort of walking away from Sergeant Good off frame again?
Yes, it appears that I'm pacing.
Were you still on the phone?
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead.
directing your attention to the top video.
Weird opening and closing of the door. Do you know why John O'Keefe's right-hand sided garage door was left open at around 5:51, 5:52? And which was around the time Karen Reed showed you and Jennifer McCabe her smashed to smithereens taillight just before you drove to 34 Fairview under Karen's ruse of pretending to search for John? And did anyone warn Kaylee to lock the door leading to the garage for personal safety? And Karen Reed to Gretchen Voss. When my car was seized, there was a few small pieces of taillight missing, just a few small pieces that I had picked out of John's at 5:45 before we drove to Fairview. I'm showing Jen and Kerry, look at what I just did to my light, and I'm worried that it's gonna be some kind of electric short circuit. There's like the bulb is showing and some of the red plastic is missing. So I picked pieces out of the light housing that kind of collapsed within the light and dropped them in John's driveway. Never found. Okay. So that's the questions for Kerry Roberts. So here's actually, here's some Kerry Roberts talking about the calls that did I play this? The calls she received from Karen? So, yeah. So that's the Kerry Roberts, Karen Reed saga. It's going to go on. But do you believe, after looking at that Kerry Roberts may be the weakest link? I mean, what is she doing? I mean, this is like the comment about, hold on one second. What she told Matt Goodman is like, I was hysterical. She was hysterical. Was she hysterical? Or was she acting hysterical because she couldn't find him? Is that Kerry Roberts? Kerry Roberts didn't know where John O'Keefe was and may have been hysterical, but Karen Reed sure knew where he was. When no one saw anything in the snow, Karen Reed is kicking at the door, let me out, and knows right where to find him. Like a buffalo on a prairie, she sees him. So this is going to be an issue. All these things that have been ghosted out of the narrative need to really be brought to light and all show Karen Reed's character. I mean, the reason why I was just so surprised back to the plumber, the reason why I think one of the reasons why I think it's important is because it shows Karen Reed to be a pathological liar. And it also shows the elements of coercive control. There's also other things I've heard, just putting out another shout out to Karen Reed's friends and family. If anybody wants to come talk to me behind the scenes or on the air, shoot me an email at robertaglass@gmail.com. Actually, it's at robertaglass23. Okay, it won't get to me if it's at Roberta Glass. At robertaglass23@gmail. Write me a link. Let's talk. Send me an email. Let's talk. So I think that the reason the plumber is important is it shows Karen Reed's lying. And I was so surprised that they never asked, were there any text messages and phone calls to Richie the plumber? Did anyone follow up on this plumber thing? Was there a plumber, or is it something that Karen Reed made up to get a rise out of John O'Keefe? I happen to think the latter. There may be a real Richie the plumber, but do I think he was fixing Karen Reed's rusty pipe? No, because it never got fixed during the next 3 and 4 days. Karen Reed was off with a private investigator when she said she was crying on her parents' sofa or whatever, wherever she was crying for 3 days in shock. She was off retracing her steps with a private investigator, doing whatever. She's immediately looking to get out of responsibility for her murder of John O'Keefe. But all those things are important. It shows her character, and it could have been one of the last things. I mean, instead they went with this Bella's mom thing, which there's still no evidence that Karen Reed ever heard about Bella's mom. She mentions it later, but she had full discovery documents. She had familiarized herself with every witness's grand jury testimony. She had everything. She was leaking it to Aidan Carney. She was always one step ahead because she knew this case. She knew her case inside and out. And my advice to the O'Keefe family and to the witnesses involved in the civil case is to familiarize yourself with the testimony and know this case inside and out. Otherwise, it's going to go down. And it's going to be, I think it would be very difficult to give a deposition. If you thought testifying on camera in front of the whole world was difficult, wait till you get into a small conference room with Karen Reed and her lawyers and you're giving a deposition. And it probably will be videoed. She's going to be glaring you down. It's not going to be pleasant. So get your wits about you. Try to get one step ahead. That is my advice. And start talking. And for all the people that signed deals with Netflix and thinks that the Netflix, like, it's just such an idea that, like, oh, that will do it. That'll change the narrative. It's not going to change the narrative. It's going to be a big flop. Because the public is in love with the conspiracy, Karen Reed is innocence narrative. The press loves it. It's the money-making narrative. It's the bad cop narrative that the press loves and people who hate cops love. Bad cops and the great psychopathic murderer Karen Reed. All right. So that's what I have for today, guys. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share this episode. If you want to support the channel, links are in the description of this episode. You can shoot me a Venmo, buy me a coffee, or you can become a Patreon member and get access to content you won't get anywhere else. I think Patreon memberships start at $5. Okay. Have a great night, everyone. See you very soon.
I hit my boyfriend with my car. It wasn't an accident, but with lying lawyers I'll go far. Lying lawyers and witness harassment. I'll avoid prison. It was snowing. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard. Now the legal system I clown. Innocence fraud campaign to save my skin. Making money, truth is my second victim. Kerry, Jen, like John, you were my mark. My innocence fraud campaign is my biggest hit. Yeah. I hit my boyfriend with my car. It wasn't an accident, but with lying lawyers I'll go far. Lying lawyers and witness harassment. I'll avoid prison. it was snowing. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard. Now the legal system I clown.